Hello and welcome back to another video. Today we are talking about Tropical Storm Fiona, which has formed in the Atlantic and is the 6th named storm of the Atlantic hurricane season. Fiona currently has maximum sustained winds of 50 miles an hour, minimum central pressure of 1,002 millibars, and is moving west-northwest at 16 miles per hour. Let's take a look here at the warnings and cone for this storm. Fiona is currently a tropical storm and is moving almost directly west. Now, as it does move to the west, it is expected to remain a tropical storm and eventually make impact somewhere in the northern Lesser Antilles during the day, Friday into Saturday. Now, as the storm continues to move to the west, it will pass by Puerto Rico and eventually start to make its way to the north, which is in that 5-day range. Now, after that, I've seen a couple different possibilities, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. I first want to talk about the arrival time of winds with wind speed probabilities turned on. You can see that Puerto Rico right now, especially eastern Puerto Rico, has a 30 to 40% chance of receiving tropical storm force winds, with earliest onset time of Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Now, we do have a few key messages for this storm. Number 1, tropical storm conditions are possible in portions of the northern Leeward Islands by Friday night, where a tropical storm watch has been issued. Heavy rains will begin to affect the northern Leeward Islands late Friday, spreading into the British and U.S. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico over the weekend. This rainfall may produce isolated flash and urban flooding, along with isolated mudslides in areas of higher terrain. Fiona is expected to move near the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and Hispaniola this weekend and early next week, and tropical storm watches will likely be issued for some of those areas on Thursday. Moving on here is the current structure of the storm on satellite imagery. You can see that most of the thunderstorms are concentrated toward the center of the storm, and it does have good rotation. Overall, a very solid tropical storm. So, we're going to be looking at our current storm information from both Tropical Tidbits and Weather Nerds. And starting off here with our global hurricane models. So, most of the models do agree that this storm is going to be moving almost directly to the west for at least the next 48 hours, if not the next 96 hours. Now, after that point, we do have a few different possibilities. One is that this storm makes a hard turn towards the north and starts to head toward Bermuda. Now, in this scenario, the storm will primarily be a fish storm. The second possibility is that the storm makes a turn towards the United States, specifically towards North Carolina, South Carolina, that region of the United States, which right now is looking more likely. The third scenario is that the storm continues to move west into the Caribbean and probably die off in doing so, since it will be going close to or over areas of Hispaniola, Jamaica, Puerto Rico, which that land interaction will weaken the storm. Now, the GEFS is taking that first option towards Bermuda, also having the storm strengthen in that time period all the way down to 981 millibars. The GEPS is taking the second option, and that is that North Carolina landfalling route. And let's take a look here at the European ensemble, which is kind of taking an in-between route between 1 and 2, but I would think that this is more of a skirting just past North Carolina type of scenario. Now, intensity guidance is showing the storm remaining tropical storm. There's very little boom potential with the storm. Only 2 models show this storm becoming a Category 1 hurricane. Actually, that would be 3 models. And only 2 models have this storm becoming a tropical depression again. So it seems pretty set that we are going to be in that tropical storm force range. Whether it's a strong tropical storm or a weak tropical storm, that is up for debate. Now, finally, let's take a look at the European model and the GFS. So here is Fiona on the GFS. This is actually the European model, my bad. So here's Fiona on the European model. You can see the storm moves to the west, and by Friday, it's making landfall somewhere in the Lesser Antilles, moving past Puerto Rico and Hispaniola. And let's actually move one further back here. And starts to make its way up to the north through the Bahamas and eventually up towards Puerto Rico. And the European model is showing this at 973 millibars moving towards Puerto Rico, which would put this storm at definitely hurricane status, if not major hurricane status. Let's take a look here. Definitely hurricane status there. Now, this is one of the more unlikely scenarios. Again, our intensity guidance is showing this potential very low. So right now, the European model, we typically talk about it being a realist. It's really not being a realist after about 120 hours from now. So, gotta kind of take that with a grain of salt. Now, the GFS, on the other hand, is showing that same initial trajectory, moving through the Lesser Antilles, Puerto Rico, Hispaniola, and taking that far, kind of actually a middle range here. And actually, this storm heads up to the northeast. Now, this is a potential scenario. We are not taking this out of the question. Now, 961 millibars is questionable, but at the same time, let's take a look here. It is definitely not going to be a major hurricane hitting the northeast. So, let's get that out of our heads. Hurricane status? Maybe. Major hurricane status? I would say definitely not. I think that, let's actually take a look here at the temperatures. Yeah, there's just not nearly enough warm waters by the northeast to sustain that type of strength. So, there we go. Let's keep that out of the question for now. I don't think that we're going to be seeing a major hurricane hit the northeast. But the most imminent impacts are going to be in the Greater and Lesser Antilles, and that could see areas receiving some decent amounts of rainfall as well. So the GFS here is showing, let's put it right here, areas such as eastern Puerto Rico up to 10 inches of rainfall. Now the European model, let's zoom on in. It's showing most of Puerto Rico, especially western Puerto Rico, over 6 inches of rainfall. So again, mudslides will be possible, flooding rains will be possible. So if you live in Puerto Rico or the U.S. Virgin Islands or anywhere in the Lesser or Greater Antilles, take a look out for this storm. Make sure your plan is in place. This will be occurring this weekend. Just prepare for the worst and hope for the best. But that is all the information that I have for today. If you enjoyed this video and found it informative, consider leaving a like, subscribing, and hitting the bell. But that is all I have for today. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.